Something happened to you recently, something ugly, something that was designed by people who knew exactly what they were doing to break you, to humiliate you, to expose a weakness and make it permanent. And instead of breaking, instead of retaliating, instead of becoming the version of yourself that the situation was trying to force you into, you handled it with a power that silenced the room, with a grace that nobody around you could explain. And now everyone who witnessed it is stunned, because what they saw was not ordinary. What they saw was a chosen one operating in their full authority. Stay right here, because what happened in that moment is more significant than you know. There is a kind of test that does not come with a warning. It does not arrive in a season that feels spiritually significant. It does not arrive when you have been praying and fasting and preparing your spirit for something difficult. It arrives on an ordinary day, in the middle of a regular moment, through a person or a situation that you are not spiritually braced for, and it hits fast, and it hits hard, and the window for responding is small enough that there is no time to think, no time to strategize, no time to consult anyone about what to do. You simply respond. And in that response, in the unscripted, unperformed, unrehearsed moment of how you handled what was done to you, the truth about who you have become is revealed, not the identity you perform when you have time to prepare, the real one. The one that was built layer by layer through every difficult season and every painful lesson, and every moment of choosing right when wrong was available. That identity showed up recently, and what it produced, in a situation that was designed to produce something entirely different, left the people who witnessed it completely speechless. You handled it with power and with grace, and I want to spend this entire message unpacking what that means. Not as a compliment to make you feel good, though you deserve to feel good about it, as a revelation, as a window into who you have genuinely become and what that becoming means for everything that is ahead of your life. Because the way a person handles an ugly situation tells you everything about what is actually inside them. When pressure is applied to a vessel, real pressure, the kind that comes from genuine conflict and genuine injustice, and genuine attempts by other people to diminish and destabilize, whatever is inside that vessel comes out, always, without exception. You cannot perform under that kind of pressure. There is no time and no emotional bandwidth for performance. What comes out is what is there. And what came out of you was extraordinary. Let me describe the situation for a moment. Not the specific details, which only you fully know, but the shape of it. The shape that ugly situations almost always take when they are directed at a chosen one. Because there is a pattern. And recognizing the pattern helps you understand why what happened was not just an interpersonal conflict. It was a spiritual event. The situation involved someone, or a group of people, who had information or perceived information about a weakness or a failure or a vulnerability in your story, and they chose to use it, not in a private conversation designed to help you, in a public or semi-public way in front of an audience that mattered to you, at a moment calculated to maximize your discomfort. They wanted you to be seen in a diminished way. They wanted the people around you to update their perception of you in a downward direction. They wanted to be the ones who revealed something about you that would change the room's relationship to you. And they failed. Not because you out-argued them. Not because you had a perfect defense. Not because you managed to suppress your emotions with practiced discipline. They failed because the person they were trying to diminish was not who they thought they were dealing with. They thought they were dealing with the older version of you, the one who would have been rattled, who would have reacted, who would have either crumbled under the public pressure or exploded in a way that validated their narrative. They were not prepared for the person you have become, and the person you have become responded in a way that turned the entire dynamic around. In the moment when they expected you to fall, you stood. In the moment when they expected you to react, you responded. In the moment when they expected chaos, you brought stillness. And stillness in a moment that was designed to produce chaos is one of the most powerful things a human being can demonstrate. It does something to a room that defensiveness or retaliation never could. It creates a silence, a pause, a moment where everyone present recalibrates their understanding of who they are actually dealing with, where the person who initiated the ugliness suddenly realizes that the weapon they chose was not effective against this particular target, where the audience, the people who were watching to see how you would respond, updates their assessment of you in a direction that is the exact opposite of what was intended. They came to diminish you. They left having elevated you. Now I want to talk about what is happening inside a person in the moment when they choose grace over reaction, because from the outside it looks effortless. From the outside to the people watching, it looked like you simply had the composure to handle a difficult moment well, like you are naturally the kind of person who does not get rattled, like the grace you demonstrated was simply a personality trait, a natural temperament, a gift of emotional intelligence that some people have and others do not. They have no idea. They have no idea what was actually happening inside you in that moment. The speed of the internal storm, the flash of anger that was completely justified, the surge of hurt that was completely understandable, the immediate and powerful impulse to respond in kind, to give them exactly what they gave you with the same energy and the same public intention. They have no idea how real all of that was, how loud, how present, and they have no idea what it took to feel all of that fully without suppressing it, and still choose something different. That choice, the one nobody could see because it happened in the interior of your life in a fraction of a second, is the most significant thing that happened in that situation. Not the outcome, not the way the room responded, the internal choice, the decision made in real time with real emotion present, to be governed by something deeper than the impulse. That choice is not a personality trait. That is formation. That is what years of walking with God, years of being pressed and refined and developed through difficulty, years of having the reactive parts of your character slowly and sometimes painfully reshaped, that is what all of that produces in a person when it is finally tested in a real, high-stakes, unscripted moment. And the formation held. It more than held. It shone. Now let me talk about the power aspect, because I want to make sure we do not reduce what you demonstrated to simply being the bigger person or taking the high road. Those phrases, while not wrong, are too small for what actually happened. What you demonstrated was not just emotional maturity, it was spiritual authority. Power, in the spiritual sense, does not look like force. It does not look like volume or aggression or the ability to dominate through intimidation. Real spiritual power, the kind that is placed on the lives of God's chosen ones and that develops through the formation process we have been describing, looks exactly like what you demonstrated in that moment. It looks like a person who is so settled in their identity that the attempts of other people to redefine them simply do not land. Like someone who knows so clearly who they are and whose they are that the words and actions of people who are trying to diminish them cannot find purchase. Like a person who carries a quality of interior authority that is perceptible to everyone in the room, even though nobody can fully name what they are perceiving. That authority does not shout. It simply stands. And when it stands, in the middle of a situation designed to topple it, the contrast between the solidity of the chosen one and the instability of the attack is so stark that everyone watching can feel it. Even people who have no spiritual language for what they are observing can feel that they are witnessing something unusual, something that operates by a different principle than ordinary human conflict. They felt it in that room. That is why they are stunned, not just by what you said or did not say, by what you were, by the quality of presence you brought to a moment that was designed to strip your presence away. That quality, that grounded, settled, unshakable quality of someone who is secure in who they are, regardless of what is being said about them, is one of the most compelling things a human being can demonstrate. And it is compelling specifically to people who do not have it, who are watching and wondering, consciously or not, what it would take to carry themselves that way in a difficult moment. You showed them. Welcome back, chosen one. I want to go deeper now, into what the grace aspect of your response actually was and where it came from. Because grace, in the context of a difficult interpersonal situation, is the most misunderstood of the two qualities you demonstrated. Most people think grace means being nice, being polite, swallowing what you actually feel, and presenting a pleasant surface to keep the peace, avoiding conflict at the cost of honesty. This is not grace. This is conflict avoidance dressed in spiritual language, and it does not produce anything lasting or genuine. Real grace, the kind that actually stuns people, the kind that changes rooms, the kind that the people who witnessed what you did are still thinking about, is something entirely different. Real grace is the decision to see the humanity of the person who is hurting you even while they are hurting you. To recognize in the middle of your own justified anger that the person across from you is a human being who is operating from a place of their own pain, their own fear, their own unhealed wounds. That their attack on you is not primarily about you. It is about something in them that has nothing to do with you, a need to feel powerful, a fear of being exposed themselves, a wound that has made them into someone who hurts people when they are threatened. This does not excuse what they did. It explains it. And the person who can hold both of those things simultaneously, the honest acknowledgement that what was done was wrong and unjust, and the compassionate recognition of the humanity of the person who did it, that person is operating at a level of spiritual maturity that is genuinely rare. That is not produced by good intentions alone. It is produced by years of God working on the interior of a human life until the capacity for that kind of simultaneous holding becomes real. You have that capacity. It showed up in that moment. And the grace that came out of you was not performed. It was not managed. It was not the result of you consciously deciding in real time to be gracious. It was the overflow of what is actually inside you, the way that when you press a fruit, what comes out is determined by what the fruit contains. You were pressed, and what came out was grace. Because grace is what God has been building in you through every season where you chose forgiveness when bitterness was available, through every moment where you were passed over or overlooked or treated as less than you are and you did not let it harden you, through every relationship that hurt you and that you walked away from without destroying the other person, through every season of sitting with your own pain honestly and letting God do His work in it rather than exporting it onto the people around you. All of that, every season of it, was building the grace that showed up in that moment. The moment was not the miracle. The moment was the evidence of the miracle. The miracle was what God had been doing in you over years. Now, I want to talk about the people who are stunned. Because the stunning of the people who witnessed what you did is not a small thing. It is a significant spiritual event with implications that extend far beyond the immediate situation. Let me explain what I mean. When a person witnesses something that exceeds the boundaries of their current understanding, something that cannot be fully explained by the categories they currently use to make sense of human behavior, it creates an opening, a crack in the closed system of their existing worldview, a question that the system cannot answer, and that therefore creates a moment of genuine receptivity. The people who are stunned by how you handled that situation are in that place right now. They have a question that their current understanding cannot fully answer. How did they do that? Where does that come from? Who is this person really? What do they have access to that I do not have access to? What is the source of that kind of settled authority in the middle of something that ugly? These are not rhetorical questions. They are genuine. And genuine questions create genuine openness. And genuine openness in the life of a person who has not yet encountered the real answers to those questions is one of the most precious things that exists. Your moment of grace under pressure created that openness in the people around you. What you do with it matters, not by launching into a speech about your faith or making the moment about the lesson you think they need to learn, but by continuing to be who you were in that moment, by letting your life going forward answer the question that the situation raised, by being consistent in the ordinary, undramatic, daily moments with the person they saw you be in the extraordinary one. Consistency is the confirmation. The extraordinary moment gets people's attention. The consistency of the ordinary moments is what makes them believe it was real. Now I want to address something that you may be feeling in the aftermath of what happened. Because the person who handles a difficult situation with grace often carries something afterward that nobody around them sees. Exhaustion. Real, deep, bone-level exhaustion. The kind that comes from having mobilized every emotional and spiritual resource you have in a high-stakes moment. From having held yourself together through something that genuinely wanted to take you apart. From the effort, enormous, invisible effort, of choosing the response you chose rather than the one that every instinct in you was reaching for. That exhaustion is real, and it deserves to be acknowledged, not just by the people around you, and they may not even know to acknowledge it, because they only saw the grace and not the cost of the grace, but by you, in the quiet, private space of your own interior, where honesty is possible in a way that it is not always possible in public. You gave something significant in that moment. It cost you something real. And the recovery from that kind of giving, the restoration of the emotional and spiritual resources that were mobilized and spent, is not automatic. It requires intentionality, rest, time with God in the quiet, permission to feel in the private space everything that you held together in the public one. Give yourself that, not as weakness, as wisdom, as the practical, necessary stewardship of the interior resources that made the moment possible. Because the same resources that produced the grace in that situation are the resources you will need for the next one. And a chosen one who does not replenish what was spent eventually reaches a place where the next moment of testing finds the well lower than it needs to be. Replenish, rest. Let God restore in the private what the public demanded. Now let me talk about what this moment has established in the spiritual geography of your life. Because beyond the interpersonal dynamics, beyond the people who are stunned, beyond the exhaustion and the recovery, something shifted in the spiritual realm when you responded the way you responded. And I want to make sure you understand what that shift means for where you are going. When a chosen one demonstrates their full character in a moment of genuine testing, when the formation that God built in them holds under real pressure and produces real fruit, it is registered in the spiritual realm as a confirmation that the person is ready, ready for the next level of assignment, ready for the next degree of influence, ready to carry the weight of what God has been building toward in their life. Think about it this way. A bridge that has never been tested under load, no matter how carefully it was designed and built, cannot be certified for use until it has demonstrated its capacity under real conditions. The testing is not the enemy of the bridge. It is the confirmation of the bridge. It is what certifies it for the load it was designed to carry. That ugly situation was your certification, and you passed, not by human standards, though the human response was stunning, by God's standard. The standard of, does this person carry what I placed in them? Has the formation produced what I designed it to produce? When the pressure is real and the stakes are genuine and there is no time for performance, is the character there? The answer, demonstrated in real time, in front of real witnesses, under real pressure, was yes. Yes, the character is there. Yes, the formation held. Yes, this person is ready. And heaven, which has been watching the entire process of your formation from the earliest difficult seasons through every subsequent one, through every moment of pressing and refining and developing, heaven responded to that yes with a movement, a releasing, an opening of the next thing that has been waiting on the confirmation of your readiness. The ugly situation was not a setback in your story. It was a promotion exam, and you passed it in the most stunning way possible. Now here is what I want you to carry from this message as the days and weeks ahead unfold. The people who are stunned by what they witnessed, they are going to watch you differently going forward. The file they have on you has been updated in a significant way. Not just the file that tracks your achievements or your capabilities, the file that tracks your character, who you are when things are hard, what kind of person you are when someone is actively trying to diminish you, whether the values you seem to carry are real or whether they are a fair-weather version of the real thing that would dissolve under genuine pressure. That file now says real. The values are real. The character is real. The grace is real. The authority is real. And a person about whom that is now documented in the experience of the people around them, a person whose character has been confirmed by fire rather than simply asserted in comfort, that person carries a quality of influence that cannot be argued with, that is trusted in a way that untested character cannot be trusted, that is given access to rooms and conversations and opportunities that are reserved for people who have demonstrated, not just claimed, who they are. Those rooms are opening for you. Those conversations are coming. Those opportunities, the ones that require the kind of trust that can only be built through demonstrated character, are on their way. The ugly situation built what years of easy living could never have built. And I need you to receive that truth not just intellectually, but in the deepest part of yourself, in the place where you still carry the ache of what happened. The part of you that knows how it felt to be on the receiving end of that ugliness, that still holds the memory of the injustice, that sometimes replays the moment and feels the flash of the anger and the hurt that you handled so well in real time. Let that part of you hear this. What was done to you was not okay. The ugliness was real. The injustice was real. The intent behind it was real, and you did not deserve it. And God saw it. Every detail of it, every ounce of the ugliness that was directed at you. He was present in that moment, not watching from a distance, but present. And he was moved, not by powerlessness, but by love, by the specific, fierce, protective love of a father watching someone he loves be treated in a way that does not reflect their worth. And he watched you handle it. He saw the internal storm and the external stillness. He saw what it cost you. He saw the choice you made and the character you demonstrated and the grace that came out of you when everything ugly was coming at you. And he was proud of you, not surprised. He knew what was in you. He built it, but moved by the evidence of it, by the real, lived, demonstrated proof that what he placed in you is genuinely there. And now, because the certification is complete, because the confirmation has been given, because the character has been demonstrated, and the readiness has been established, he is moving on your behalf, not eventually, now. The doors that open from this point forward in your life will be doors that the old version of you, before the formation, before the testing, before the confirmation, could not have walked through. Not because they were too good for you, but because the weight of what is behind those doors requires the version of you that was built in the fire. And that version only exists because of everything you went through, including the ugly situation, including the moment that was designed to break you and instead confirmed you. Go forward, chosen one. Carry what you demonstrated in that moment into every room that opens from this point on. Be consistent. Be faithful. Be exactly the person that the people who are stunned by you now believe you to be. Because you are that person. You were built to be that person. And the life that is ahead of you, the influence, the impact, the relationships, the opportunities, all of it is sized for exactly who you are. Go live it.